Hello friends, today I am going to explain the most anticipated tax change in India called GST or Goods and Services Tax in the language of a common man like me. This is the most revolutionary step taken in respect to tax reforms which has a potential to reap huge benefits for India in the long run. I know there are tons of information available over the internet and other news mediums. Some are saying that it will take away the cascading effect. CEOs are gaga over the ease of doing business, whereas others are churning out slogans about one nation, one rate. But what does it mean for you? Will you end up paying more or less? Is it an additional tax burden on you apart from the other taxes? What is GST? I will try to explain all these questions in as simple terms as possible. But for that, let's first understand the current tax structure in India and how GST can be a game changer. In India, currently we have two kinds of taxes. One is direct tax and the other is indirect tax. What is direct tax? Direct tax are those taxes that are paid directly by an individual or company, like income tax. Its liability cannot be shifted to somebody else. Okay, so what is indirect tax? For these kind of taxes, the liability for paying the tax can be shifted to someone else. In most cases, it is the consumer, that is people like us. Let me explain this a bit more. Have you ever carefully seen your bill from a supermarket? It will have a plethora of taxes. Depending on the groceries in your shopping cart, you will be paying VATs at different percentages from 5.5% to 14.5%. So for a bill of let's say rupees 5,000, you will have to cough up another let's say 475 rupees as tax. The scenario becomes more complex if you try to dine out. Not only you have to pay VAT but also service tax, Krishi Kalyan cess, Swachh Bharat cess. So on a bill of rupees 1,000, you will shell out rupees 56 as service tax, rupees 2 as Krishi Kalyan cess, rupees 2 as Swachh Bharat cess, and a VAT of rupees 20. The service tax plus the two cesses goes to the central government for the restaurant service that you availed. The state extracts VAT from you for the food product that you consume from the restaurant. In the third scenario, you went for a movie with your friends. There also, you will be slapped with an entertainment tax of almost 30%. So, let's summarize the taxes that we actually pay. Excise duty, service tax, CST, custom duty are collected by central government. And VAT, entertainment tax, luxury tax, octroi or entry tax collected by state government. So, to get rid of all these taxes, central government is bringing in a new unified tax called the GST or Goods and Services Tax, which will abolish all these taxes. It is also a form of indirect tax which will be levied on goods and services. To be very clear, it will have no impact on the direct taxes that you are paying. So, if we go back to our earlier example, shopping in supermarket will be subjected to GST. Same goes for dine out and movie tickets. Also, the GST on every transaction within a state will be split equally into a central GST and a state GST. When goods are shipped from one state to another, the central will collect an integrated GST from the seller, which rolls both into one. In simpler terms, there will be three types of GST. CGST, collected by center, which is replacing excise duty, service tax, CST and custom duty. SGST or state GST is replacing VAT, entertainment tax, luxury tax, etc. IGST or integrated GST. Now that we have a basic understanding of what is GST, let's see the benefits. Number 1, it will remove cascading effect or tax on tax. Let's understand how it will happen. For the sake of simplicity, let's assume the current tax amount is 10% for every level. There are generally 4 levels in any kind of supply chain: manufacturer, distributor, wholesaler and retailer. Manufacturer buys raw material for rupees 100 and creates the product. So let's say a value of rupees 50 gets added to it. So the price of the finished product now is 150. Since there is a tax of 10%, 15 rupees gets added to the finished product as tax. The distributor buys the product from the manufacturer at rupees 165 and adds value of rupees 20. Price of the product now is 185 rupees. Again add 10% tax to it, that is 18.5 rupees. This will make the value of the product as 203.5 rupees. Wholesaler again repeats the same process and now the cost of the product becomes 223.5 plus taxes, which is 245.85 rupees. At the final step, the retailer adds his profit and taxes, and finally the consumer buys the product at 292.43 rupees. Now if we start from the manufacturer, at every step there was a tax paid, and that same tax is again taxed in the next level till it lands into the hand of consumer. In other words, tax is again getting taxed. This is also called cascading effect. Now let's look into the GST system. Raw material of rupees 100 and a value addition of 50 rupees. The product price is 150 rupees. But this time the manufacturer has to pay tax only on the value addition, that is on rupees 50, which will be 5 rupees. But the selling price will not increase and the purchase price for the distributor will be 150. He adds 20 rupees and pays a tax of 2 rupees. So the price of the product will be 170 rupees. Same for the wholesaler, and the price of the product now is 190. The retailer adds his profit of 20 rupees and pays a tax of 2 rupees. And finally, the product price is 210, which is paid by the consumer. So, in totality, the product that you will be purchasing under GST system technically will be 82.43 rupees cheaper. This brings me to the obvious question. Will GST bring down the prices? I would have loved to say yes, but the answer is both yes and no. First, if the retailer is kind enough to pass on the benefit to the consumer rather than pocketing the benefit, then only you will get lesser prices. But my common sense says this will hardly be the truth. Secondly, based on GST slab, which I'll explain later, some of the prices will go up and some will come down. Number 2, reduction in black money. Black money is the money on which taxes have not been paid. There are certain people who show less income by not showing all the transactions. By doing this, they will not only save indirect taxes but also report very less income. Since GST provides benefit by eliminating cascading effect, everyone will want to avail the benefit. However, to avail the tax benefit paid by the previous person in the supply chain, a transaction document or some sort of proof is required. Hence, everyone will insist on an invoice. This way, for each transaction, GST will have a trail right from the manufacturer to the consumer. And this can be accessed by the tax department. Also, PAN card and Aadhaar card will be required for filing GST returns. Number 3, One India, One Market. There are dozens of taxes that prevents India from becoming a common marketplace. Under GST, there will be only a single tax imposed all over the country, turning India into a common market. Number 4, no entry tax or octroi. Every time goods are moved between states, the trucks carrying them needs to pay entry tax at the state border. This is a tax that is collected by every state. If the truck moves between multiple states, it has to pay entry tax at every border. Also, the counterpart of octroi is CST or Central Sales Tax that is collected by central government for movement of goods between states. Some manufacturers refrain to do business between states because of octroi and CST. GST will make transportation easier by replacing CST and octroi. It will reduce the overall transportation cost for doing business. Number 5, quicker transit. Another clear benefit you can expect from GST is that it will crunch the time taken for goods to move across the country. Today, if a truck is moving produce from Punjab to Tamil Nadu and passes through 7 different states, this movement becomes extremely slow due to the entry tax process. By official estimates, about 6 hours is lost from a 24-hour transit because of this tax paying process. GST, by doing away with such holdups, may help trucks zip across state borders. That means products arriving to you in a much more fresh condition, thanks to GST. Number 6. Ease of doing business. In the current tax system, every business has to comply with various tax authorities like income tax, VAT, service tax, etc. and file many returns with such tax authorities. After GST implementation, there will be only a single registration, single return and less paperwork. So, a business can focus more on their customers rather than the paperwork. Okay, that's about the benefits. But what's in it for the common people like me? How much will we have to pay? In the current tax regime, indirect tax on goods are between 27 to 32%, whereas for services, it is somewhere around 15%. Under GST, since a lot of products and services will come under 18% bracket, cost of many goods should come down, whereas the cost of some services will go up. There will be 4 main tax slabs ranging from 5 to 28%. Some of the products under 5% are edible oil, sugar, spices, tea, coffee, except the instant one, coal instead of 11.69%, mishti or mithai, life-saving drugs. Under 12% we have computers, processed food. We have 18% on hair oil, toothpaste and soap, currently at 28%, capital goods and industrial intermediaries. 28% will have small cars, consumer durables such as AC and fridge, luxury items like BMW, cigarettes and aerated drinks, high-end motorcycles. These are not included here. Other than this, we also have a category of 0% tax, which is on day-to-day items like food grains. Some of the items that are not included in GST are petroleum products like petroleum crude, motor spirit or petrol, high-speed diesel, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel, alcohol for human consumption, electricity, tobacco. However, this list is not exhaustive. So, I have shared links to the entire list of GST rates in the description box below. Also, link to all the resources that I have used in this video are provided in the description box. Please take a look. As I see it, GST is one of the most impactful changes in tax that will be implemented from 1st July 2017. Over the long term, it will be very beneficial to the common people like us. Also, it will fuel the next level of growth for India. That's all for today. If you have benefited from this video, please share it with your friends and family. This may help them to avoid confusion and will give a basic understanding of GST. If you have enjoyed the video, please give a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Do remember to click on the bell icon. You will receive a notification as soon as I release a new video. See you in next video. Till then, bye bye.